hours since Fnatic last plays. They've all stayed at the venue. And, you know, dreariness, and it takes a toll. If you're not sitting and you're not 100% focused now between your first game of the day, which was a loss for Fnatic, keep that in mind, to now this matchup, which is the second to last of the day, and their last game, we'll see whether or not they're on point, whether or not they land all the respective skill shots, because if they don't, then obviously they're not going to win, especially because they've got a pretty heavy engaged composition. They basically want to be throwing themselves into MYM over and over again.
Well, we're going to get into game then. Here's Fnatic versus MeetYourMakers. MYM starting off on that blue side. Let's see if they can continue this run of good form in their first LCS split.
Yeah, welcome to the new boys, that is for sure, as they have arrived with a bang. And right now we'll see whether or not Makler can repeat the performance that he did in the previous games today with Ezreal, but he was playing Caitlyn in those matchups, so he'll be well aware of the specifics that Yellow Star will be able to pull off.
So, early action here. What can we expect? We've seen a couple of games today that have gone really crazy at level 1. Of course, the Evil Geniuses game earlier is the one that really springs to mind in that game against Alternate. Let's see then how this one is all going to work out. A couple of early wards down. Doesn't look the way they're set up there across the minimap that there'll be too much, at least before, you know, we get more closer to those buffs spawning in.
Yeah, so at the moment it's just a pretty much repeat of these 1 or 2 river wards that both teams, they tend to mirror one another. If you are covering a specific entrance, then somebody else on your team will ward up entrance number 3 or entrance number 4, and it's just a ping pong basically of just getting vision using living wards, and you can actually see both teams even warding up similar positions, so they're well aware of the threat locations. But we do see Fnatic setting up. They want to do a 2v1 in this top lane.
Yeah, 2v1 in the top lane. Looks like it's going to be a standard for MeetYourMakers of Ezreal Zyra down in the bottom. We can see that Charo will be the man to help Makata along his merry way with this jungle. Shen, Peke doing the same for Soaz, over by the Wolves.
So because of these lane swaps, the advantage is definitely going to be in the favor of Fnatic, as they will be able to at least apply tower damage a little bit easier with that, you know, very good range of Caitlyn. However, Elise will be a little bit safer in lane than Xpeke's Orion, or in this case it's going to be Soaz's Zac who's going to be in that bottom lane. Because Zac, of course, being melee, he's going to take a lot more poke and a lot more damage from that mass range of Zyra support.
Now you see Enrater just helping out Cyanide, going Smiteless on his red buff for the start of things. And there was Makata actually in the bottom lane here. Has already got some good damage out. Not Makata, sorry. His brother Makler. I get that, you know. The Kuke brothers here for MeetYourMakers. Already put a decent amount of damage down onto Soaz. And that's something that might be a little bit troubling there for Soaz. As we are seeing here in the middle, actually, Charu already going to get engaged on by Xpeke. The Ignite was used to try and force him out early.
So Xpeke, immediately realizing he has the advantage, is going to use that passive of Orion and get that additional magic damage, land a number of auto attacks, and in combination with the QW, apply slow to Kha'Zix, and that's basically where the damage came in. We're seeing the teleport from Charu. This is one extra teleport that we've seen that we did not see in the previous matchup. So he hasn't lost much CS, and he's going to be in, you know, within experience range, which is the good thing.
Yep, straight back into the action there. Doesn't want to be losing out on anything, if at all possible. One thing that Zac right now is having troubles with, Soaz, of course, in that 2v1 lane in the bottom. He's currently only got 1 minion. Yeah,
so he took damage at level 1. He couldn't get in range to actually last hit, but he has been in experience range to at least get a little bit of, you know, XP working towards that level 2. Jarvan is hanging around in the bottom here, and look at that mystic shot from Makler. Well aware of Cyanide's position. He knew that the jungler was going to be coming to help because his own jungler is moving to the top lane. So the rhythm of the map, you know, showing or revealing where our opponents are going to be.
Tell you what, Charu there is having a little bit of struggle in time against Xpeke, who's not afraid to get those auto attacks stacking up towards Charu and you know, really denting his health. Down in the bottom, Soaz again started to work away from the tower as well, and will now have to see Cyanide leave him. And that's the thing about Soaz, you know, obviously the way Zac works, every time he uses that ability, he loses the chunk, pick it up, get the health back, or at least a percentage of that health back. But if the enemies walk over that, which can happen in that scenario, you lose that completely.
Yeah, and so basically, you want to be like a sweet spot of like about 60 or 70% HP, because then the cost of the ability will actually be less than what you're getting back and you'll maintain that balance. The difficult thing is maintaining that balance while you have Zyra and Ezreal using the great range to just poke you down. So it becomes a very, very tricky balancing act, and it's the reason that you see he started with a rejuvenation bead, so he can basically lose CS and get the health back. Peck has been jumped on.
Oh, and he flashes away from the taunt. Then Makata was going to land that onto him. That would have hit XPK. That could have meant the end of him. Burns the flash, which means that Makata will probably be back in this mid lane before long.
Yeah, and especially because Charu's getting closer and closer to level 6. He's been losing out the trades in this lane.
Oh, bottom lane, Soaz is going very, very low here. That Ignite going to tick down, and he will get his passive pop, but lucky for him, he's actually right behind the tower now. MeetYourMakers won't be able to finish that off for the first blood, but again, similar to in the mid lane, that mechanism is not there anymore.
Yeah. 2 juicy targets that are now available for potential first blood from Makata. He's level 4 currently, so he'll need a little bit more camps before he hits that level 6 and has the ability to just use Stand United, maybe even Tower Dive. And we were talking about Charu and how he's falling behind Peke. The moment he gets those upgraded Void spikes, it's definitely going to play into his favor. He'll be able to clear waves better, get better sustain, and basically trade and poke a little bit more evenly with that Orianna.
I'm actually quite surprised that MeetYourMakers didn't try and at least take one of those blobs down, the one that was closest to him away from the tower, because of course when he comes back with a percentage of the health that you've not taken away from him when he hits his passive form there. So a bit of a surprise for that one, but nonetheless, that won't be available to him in the future. And they are pushing heavy on that bottom tower, already down to less than half HP.
So we'll see which tower falls first, and then the real question of who is gonna, lane swap. What was the plan gonna be? When MYM beat Lemon Dogs, they really stomped that top lane hard. They kept in the top lane for a very long time. If you recall, they warded up the blue buff, and they basically applied pressure to the inner top lane turret. What they did, oh, look at the top lane!
Yeah, they're going in the top, will actually land here on towards yellow side. The repel came down from Kuban. He is right now exhausted, but will they be able to get in to get the finisher off? Makata is running in, can he get the taunt? No, they actually turn around here on towards a narrated, who's going to flash away from the cocoon, and they both escape.
Cupcakes are too delicious for spiders, and standing on that Yordle snap trap is literally what saved Yellow Star's life. So very well played, pulling his opponent onto his pre-placed trap, and that was what bought him enough time to get away. The heal as well, just giving him that additional boost of HP. Shen, not particularly well known for his massive damage at low levels, so nevertheless they do get away, but flashes burn, and another successful game. MYM a little bit more in control of this map.
Yeah, and talking about, as you said, the summoners up there, both flashes, barrier from Caitlyn, and the exhaust from Enraged, so they literally have nothing if we see Makata getting into that lane once again here, and Jarvan is actually going up there just to maybe give them a little bit of a backup here. Cyanide wants to make sure that they don't lose this AD carry early on in the game. It looks like possibly we will see Ezreal and Zyra head down to that bottom lane once again, despite the fact that they've taken that turret.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what Kuban's plan is, because we were talking about how long MYM pushed out that top lane against Lemon Dogs, but then what they did is they stacked the 3-man in the bottom lane for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and it basically allowed Zoro's Malphite to get back in the game. They'd shut him down really hard, and then they played a little passive in that lane. So I'd like to see the decision making in this one and see if we can, notice any trends. Maybe Statman Jason will be able to give us some numbers on that one. Right now though, 500 gold advantage for MYM. Considering they have a turret advantage, and a little bit of CS, it's actually a lot closer than maybe it should be.
Right now, Kuman alone in there. We see in the bottom lane, Makla going head to head, putting down as much damage as he possibly can here onto Soaz, who right now has that Ruby Crystal, plus the 2 rejuve beads, got wards in there, which are probably going to be critical now that tower is actually down for him, but it doesn't end up getting caught with his pants down in that bottom lane, which makes them quite surprised, if I'm honest, that they've not moved away from this bottom lane. But if the farm's there to be had, why not?
At the same time as well, Kuban is actually defending his top lane turret relatively well against the duo lane, and Makata has paid about 1 or 2 ganks there. The fact that both of those flashes down means that Yellowstone and Rated are not going to play as aggressively. They're not going to push past the river because they no longer have those safety mechanisms to rely on, and that basically puts a pause on the pressure in that top lane. So I actually think it's pretty smart play from them, understanding the limits of their opponents.
There is Makler again, trying to put the damage onto Soaz. He's going to slingshot himself away as the auto attack comes out from Zyra in the meantime. And that's all they need to do, and that's what they've done successfully in their game so far, is push on this solo lane and cause some real problems. Livik, though, I was going to say, he might just end up in trouble as he face
But he's
checks
gonna
in there,
get
but he
pinched.
just put the ward down. Yeah, Soaz coming in from the side. He's going to get knocked up here by Let's Bounce, but they forgot about Shen. There go the Stranglethorns. Makata comes in. Oh, well, it was a bit of a letdown in the end. Not too much going on.
I think they're going to be very happy with that trade. They traded Let's Bounce for Stand United, and the cooldown is significantly higher on Stand United, plus that global presence, being well aware, and immediately after that happened, you would have heard a call, from the Fnatic side saying back. They've made a note of that time on Stand United, and they're going to be aware of it. A second teleport's come out, that's to save this top lane turret. That actually gets interrupted or cancelled, so half the cooldown is refreshed for Charu.
Yep, gets half of it back, and look at this. MeetYourMakers sending a 4-man squad towards that middle tower. It looks like they want their second one of the game from this. We'll be seeing XPK trying to get rid of those minions. Jarvan coming in from the side as well. And it's all about wave clearance there from that. Soaz even will be coming over to try and defend that one. Really impressed again with Kubon that this turret is actually still alive.
Take a look at the positioning from MYM. They are starting to move up. Yellowstar has moved back a little bit late.
Middle lane going in there, and it's going to be a first blood for Soaz. Makler actually having to use everything here. That Blackburn, Yellowstar now being chased by MeetYourMakers. Can they get into him? The spider coming down, and he wasn't quite enough there. The void spikes. 20 damage, I think more, and that would have been a kill.
That must have been single-digit HP for Yellowstar getting away there. And interestingly, Mokate, he doesn't have a massive amount of armor at this stage. He decided not to dive. If he had got a taunt or a Vorpal Blade, it would have been enough to secure the kill. And he could have actually done that with 1 or 2 turret hits. But I'm not sure if the Aqua Prison had been used. So if that Aqua Prison from Nami had not been thrown out, that would have been the fear. Diving in, getting stunned up under the turret and giving away the kill. So I'm going to guess that was a calculated non-dive from MYM.
Fnatic did do a huge amount of damage onto this middle outer turret as well. That currently is sitting on only 500 HP, so that will be a prime target for Fnatic once they start to get themselves back involved in the map. You saw Enraged just come down to make sure it wasn't pushed all the way back. Let's have a look down some of the items here while everyone goes back and picks things up. Ezreal, as we kind of expected, going that Spirit of the Elder Lizard first of all, and will be working himself all the way up to that blue Ezreal build. On the other side, both Orianna and Kha'Zix now have that tier started to stack, and Kha'Zix actually pretty close to getting that Brutalizer done.
Yeah, so in terms of the blue Ezreal build, I just want to touch on the fact that Michael is building the traditional blue Ezreal, going Elder Lizard into tier, and then we're most likely going to see the likes of an Iceborne Gauntlet, and then finishing the Mana Muna when it immediately upgrades to that Mirror Mana. So we'll see whether or not he does stick to that traditional build, purely because we haven't seen that from Creatine, if I recall correctly, from Alternate, who just builds a slightly different route. He goes into that Blade of the Ruined King as a second item. In terms of those mid laners, once the Brutalizer is finished for Charu, then I think he'll be able to really apply even more pressure, because he's going to have really good burst potential on Nami, Orianna, and even Zac at this stage, as he's only built a little bit of HP and not additional armor right now.
Well, look at this. MeetYourMakers already trying to starve the jungle of Fnatic, taking away those wraiths, and actually just backing off there in the end, getting a couple of wards down as well.
I think Peke actually got the big wraith there. I see those little green trails flying over the wall, so he may have stolen that with the W, but at the moment, what was good about that is they got that deep ward, and that's actually even more valuable, just knowing when and where they are positioning in that lane. We do see Fnatic all grouped up. Dragon was taken a couple minutes ago, so that should be respawning in the next 2 or so minutes by MYM, and that was completely uncontested. Fnatic had no vision, and they didn't contest that at all.
Yep, and right now we can see that they are starting to hunt up towards that blue buff right now. So as just around the corner, there is a ward on that side bush as well there, so they're going to be aware that MeetYourMakers are actually in. You can see that Charu and Makata directly backing away from that one. They need to be really careful here on the blue as well.
So both teams have vision of one another, and this is just a psych out. The blue buff does get taken away there by MYM, so very well played. That was a smite steal from Makate. It's not on Charu. So as he's going to get the start, he's been caught up but not taunted.
Oh, but he is going to get hit by the cocoon. There's the shockwave coming in from the side though. They're getting involved. Charu going very, very low, but he's still alive. Stand United coming in onto him as well. Makler and Kubon picking up 2 kills, and that went brilliantly from MeetYourMakers. So as on top of a wall, it's not over yet. Cocoon and the finisher from Makler again. to take down XPK. All about vision, that.
Completely, and basically the fact that Soaz was popped before his ultimate could do anything at all is what turned the tide of that fight. Even with the 3-man shockwave from Peke, it wasn't actually enough damage for them to win that outright, and the True Shot barrage rattling across the entire team of Fnatic really hurt. So MeetYourMakers now with a 4-man stack are going to pick up their 3rd turret of the game. Every single outer turret will be taken down, and Charu may get a lot of damage into this inner bottom lane turret.
So in their earlier performances that we've seen today, once they've got these outer turrets down, it's been mass wards coming out here, and they've covered the enemy jungle with them. They really like to make sure that they've got that vision down, that they can catch anyone that literally comes out of that outer, or the inner circle, I suppose I should call it, from the inner turrets. And if they do come out there, pick them off one by one. That's something that MeetYourMakers have done very, very well in the past. We'll see if they can get that all working out here again. What
they've also done, or what Charu specifically has done with the vision, with the control of those deep wards, and River, he's actually teleported in behind enemy AD carries like Yellowstar is right now. You can actually see an MIM ward, I believe, in that tri-bush, so he has the potential to jump right in there with Kha'Zix, get Taste of Fear down, and just start really chomping on those targets, because Kha'Zix has the ability to insta-give 2 or 3 of the enemy Fnatic members.
Yep, certainly does, and now has that last whisper added in there as well, which is certainly going to help that cause. Sheen added in for Ezreal as well, so nicely on his way towards that Iceborne Gauntlet. But we have a pink ward down on the Dragon once again, as Soaz is just hanging around in there. And Fnatic don't want to let this next one go. There is the Dragon spawn. Fnatic spotted. Are they going to get the vision? There's Peke actually having in the mid lane to flash away from danger. That could actually come back to haunt them if they end up getting in a fight here.
Yeah, especially if this engage does happen. Now, Fnatic's not going to, or XPK not going to be able to get to safety, but if they do get a good engage with a shockwave plus Zac Let's Bounce, that can work very, very well. They get the Zac W, Unstable Matter, percentage damage on a multitude of targets, and someone's in trouble. Rasputin gets thrown out by Libic, but wisely Enrated was not actually moving forward, so he did not get rooted in place. He's going to take down those little weed towers, take them out, little turrets, and then basically Fnatic are now toying with vision. You can see, this is what MYM can see. They're a little bit unsure about the depths of the jungle from Fnatic, whereas Fnatic, if anybody's in the river, they will see it. So right now, they're just a little bit of guesswork. Q1 a little off to the side. He's going to take a shocker. He dodges it!
Wow, that was an amazing last-second repel there coming out from Kubon. Those reactions pretty sick, but they've left this outer turret open, or have they? As Libic comes down, Stranglethorn's going in, Yellowstar has to use a barrier, but he's taking a load of damage. Cyanide, the only one that can disrupt them here. He throws the Cataclysm down, but it's an Ezreal. He jumps straight out. Can he finish him off? No!
Great bubble!
Last-second bubble coming out from Enrated.
So they end up only losing 1, and considering that they used quite a lot of ability to try and jump onto Cubon's Elise repelled up and went, ooh, there's a Wraith camp nearby. He just jumped over the wall, got completely to safety, avoided the knockup that Jarvan was intending on his original position, and that just signaled go for MYM. Fnatic actually did well to only lose 1 member in that engagement, but the fact that they're 3 towers down and 2 dragons has equated to a 4,000 gold lead. And Charu, 157 CS, he's got that tier stacking up very, very nicely. He's in a pretty powerful position right now.
Yeah, he is very, very powerful. He's only going to become more of a menace as this game goes along right now. He's ahead in the CS, as is the AD carry. Zac, though, of course, played by Soaz here, farming up better than Kubon. But Kubon 2-0-2, got that giant spill already down with the Haunting guy. So his next minute's going to be crucial. 2 out of 2 dragons, of course, for MeetYourMakers, and 3-0 in turrets, which almost surprised me because Fnatic, they tried to make that play there. Okay, they're around the dragon area, let's see if we can get this turret. And that's what actually caught them out, trying to get in there and finish off that few hundred XP that's that's left on that turret. It's 160 HP.
Yeah, and a little bit of a questionable engage as well, trying to throw the shockwave down onto Elise. She's a pretty slippery champion to begin with, so she's going to be able to potentially flash away, or in the spider form use that repel. So interesting decision. One thing I do want to touch on, Q1's tower is still up. So this entire time, putting that duo lane top, trying to shove it down with the Caitlyn, it did not pay off for it. Fnatic, they've got a little bit of vision inferiority in this position right now. They've traded a pink ward down in this bush. They put one shot down onto the MYM tower. Blue buff is going to get taken away by Kate for the second time. Soaz charges up the slingshot but decides not to go in. The call was back. Not safe engagement, not worth the risk, and they decide to back away.
Yeah, and that is important here. 2 blue buffs in a row denied from Xpeke. It's not even the fact that Makata gets the blue buffs, it's that Xpeke doesn't get those blue buffs to help out with Orianna there. So,
oh, Makata's caught!
Oh, this is bad news for him though, and there's the ace in the hole actually from Yellow Star in the end. Max range pretty much to finish things off. That's a nice kill for him. We'll actually put him at 1-0.
I would dare say that that was a ward bait. Basically, Makata was clearing out the vision with that pink ward and trying to maintain that vision superiority, and this is something that we've talked about MYM, their wards. If Fnatic are well aware that they ward a lot, they like pink wards, they like clearing wards, play into that. Bait, put yourself in a position where you can engage from a long range like you can with the Jarvan and with the Zac, and then jump in. Kha'Zix has jumped on Peke!
Xpeke losing half of his HP from that. There's the true shot barrage coming through. Heal from Enrated at the last second, and they're now going to try and force these minions back as Cyanide jumps in, loses almost half of his health from that. The tower now down to half HP as well. Yellow Star, of course, with those double buffs on, thanks to the kill on Makata as Soaz comes around the side, but he's lost half of his health as well. And just Void Spikes really there that was doing all that damage.
Plus Brutalizer plus Last Whisper, you've effectively got no armor when those Void Spikes are hitting you, and that's what's chunking them so low. The zoning, Yellow Star's been cocooned, they might jump in.
Yep, Cyanide going to go in. That's a brilliant shockwave as Makler flashes away. Livik won't be so lucky from that though, and that will be 2 kills coming down. And actually it was the Ignite that killed Makler off in the end there. I didn't even see that he was going so low at the back, but that's how Fnatic really gets themselves back into this game with opportunistic opportunities. Wow. Like
making opportunities stick. There we go.
English,
I'll help
hard
that.
language.
But basically, that's pretty much what the Fnatic composition wants to do. Dive in there, pull him together with the Shockwave, then get a Zac ultimate to bounce on him, plus his Unstable Matter, which is percentage HP damage, and he can cast that while bouncing. So as long as the cooldown's available, he can be dealing damage from his ultimate, plus damage from his W at the same time, and you're going to have the Orianna ball with Command Dissonance and Command Attack as often as is possible. So it's a very powerful wombo combo, and there's no Vladimir to avoid it and clean up after the fight. So the idea from him was to peel, leap away, repel up. Once everything stopped bouncing and moving, come back in and try close out.
Right now, Makata trying to push this bottom lane out as well, which Soaz is going to have none of at this stage. Giant spell in there with that Haunting Guides as well. He's putting decent amounts of damage out, and he's pretty tanky from that, as Xpeke almost getting hit by the grasping roots there. And you can bet your bottom dollar that Makler would have gone in there for the opportunity to put some damage down. Who knows, possibly get a kill. Charu, his teleports back up. We've seen him use it once, which was right at the very start, I think at level 2 maybe, to get back into lane. Other than that, not used it all that much. Second time, sorry, where he cancelled it as well.
Yeah, basically top lane as well. I'm toying in my memory that he may have teleported to the mid lane for the 3rd time in that fight, but it wasn't super important. The point is he hasn't taken towers, he hasn't picked up kills using that, but he has defended. He's not lost experience and he's not lost gold in that mid lane. In addition to that, he's also saved the top lane tower. That teleport to the top lane basically saved that tower, and it's still standing because he used that cooldown. So very smart play from him.
Got boots of mobility here as well.
Now that's not unheard of on Kha'Zix, as we see it from time to time. I think Alexic and maybe even Peke have actually done it in the spring split. And it just signals I need to be in every fight. Even if teleport's not up, I need to run there as quickly as I can. And then basically, because he gets the resets on the leap, he doesn't need the additional movement speed of like Boots of Swiftness might offer, for example.
Exactly. Right now, we see those wards that we were talking about earlier from MeetYourMakers slowly but surely starting to dot around both the top and the bottom side of that Fnatic jungle. Being very careful about it there, Livik. He's already seen Makata being caught out as he was trying to clear that area earlier on. And, well, it's a couple of minutes down. They've kind of both stacked up here in middle lane. pushed one wave in, taken one back. And that's what they're going to wait for here until this dragon spawns. We can see Fnatic is starting to head south.
And they don't have vision in the pit. We see Soaz has been caught out, takes a lot of damage, and there's a difficult position for Fnatic right now. Ezreal is practically uncatchable, if that's even a word. He's going to arcane shift to safety, and then he's just going to apply that Iceborne Gauntlet slow over and over and over. Fnatic are forced to defend up in this top lane, and basically because they didn't have vision or position on the dragon, they may actually lose both. They're going to try and get up as quickly as possible, and Kha'Zix is just going to back away. He's going to get away thanks to this boost of mobility.
Well, there is another dragon going over to MeetYourMakers. Fnatic have now finally got their first turret of the game. The minions pushing through about 20 minutes after we were really talking about that one. XPK going to get caught. Stranglethorn's coming in. He is a dead man. It's Makler that picks that one up. Tidal Wave came in the back. Yellow Star in middle. Forced to use barrier. And there comes a snipe from the True Shot Barrage. And that is a double kill from Makler. Now up at 4-1-1, and they'll finish off the inner turret.
MeetYourMakers looked at every single VOD of their games from the Dragon Boards and realized the biggest mistake they made in that series was not committing and not going in. They always play safe, they always play defensive, and that is the last thing that they are doing. The moment Peke showed himself in the jungle, they dove on him. They picked up the turret, they're on the inhibitor turret now.
And that one's going to go down here. Nothing that Fnatic can do about that. We see the walls put down for vision later on. The inhibitor down at half HP, and I can't see what they can do to stop this one here. This will be the first inhibitor of the game. Going over to MeetYourMakers as Soaz going to bounce around. Shockwave! A massive one! It pulls 4 in. They picked up the 1 kill. Cyanide goes down. Makler is going to get sniped, but not finished off. And the damage is still good here from MeetYourMakers, but in the end they lose 3 for the 2 of Fnatic.
And their fight played out exactly like we were talking about. Soaz jumped in there, knocked everybody up in the air. Kha'Zix immediately left away while Elise repelled up into the air, stuck around for a little while. One of the things that was awesome to see from Soaz, after he leaped in, he flashed over his targets and then bounced, knocking them closer to the inhibitor. So even burning that flash just to reposition his enemies more opportunity for his team. They got a few kills on the board, but now that big pause button is on as that inhibitor, they'll wait for it to respawn. Yellowstar's trying to steal his blue buff and almost ate a volatile spiraling for his troubles.
If you look at the gold as well, it's only 3,000 the difference after a big turret lead is coming. Both of the dragons have gone the way of MeetYourMakers as well. So it's kind of strange that Fnatic have been able to hold on so well to this one with that lead from the CS. If you look down 40 from when you compare Zac and Elise, in the middle lane it's a good 20, the bottom lane approaching 20 as well.
That's basically what it all adds up to. The fact that every single lane of Fnatic is out farming every single lane of MYM. That's what's keeping this gap from being bigger than it already is. And that's actually going to close now. Thanks to the inhibitor being down, Fnatic have a pretty good defensive team. It's very difficult for MYM to engage a Zac, Jarvan, and an Orianna, which means Fnatic are going to now stall. They're going to say, thank you very much, you took the inhib, yes, that sucks for us, but now we get free farm because every single wave will be pushing against us, and it's basically up to Fnatic to control those waves, pick up the CS, and close this gold gap.
Makata is actually waiting in that top rush by the red buff here. Peke just going to check it out with the ball. We'll see exactly what's going on from that. And MeetYourMakers have to be very careful here. This is prime target for Shockwave and Let's Bounce to really catch an entire team. Although on the other side, you've got the Stranglethorns of Lyric, which work brilliantly in a closed space like the jungle there.
And MYM's poke outranges Fnatic's poke. So the Void Spikes plus the Mystic Shot and those Iceborne Gauntlet actives are great. And look at that hop, skip, and jump over the wall. MYM have started Baron. Fnatic are aware of it. They may get here too late. Jarvan combo is available, but is it going to go down? That's the question. It's done!
It's gone there, and Livic actually getting caught at the back. He may end up dying to this one, or maybe not. Yes, he will finally. But here comes Charu over the side. Shockwave comes down, but Charu got the kill. There's 2 resets. He jumps away. That was brilliant play from Charu.
2-4. They lost their support, but secured Baron Nashor and got 2 kills. The AP mid as well as the jungler from Fnatic. That could not have gone better for them. They've got a massive creep wave in the bottom lane. They've got a wave building up in this top lane. They're going to be able to pick up their 7th tower of the game. MeetYourMakers are putting themselves in a position where they could go 4-0 and be sitting at the top of the table for the summer split of the LCS.
And this is not just any team that they could be doing, that we could be taking down here. This is Fnatic we're talking about, the winners of the spring split playoffs. They beat Gambit in that amazing best-of-5 series earlier on, and with this, if they can pull this one off, MeetYourMakers could quite possibly become the scariest team up to now that we've seen.
Well, we'll definitely have to see how MeetYourMakers and Alternate pans out, because that is definitely going to be an awesome, awesome game. Because at the moment, those are the two teams that are looking to be the most dominant out of everybody that we have seen. They're the only ones that have not faltered. And basically, the thing that I think they're doing that nobody else is, they're just going in. The moment there's an opportunity, even if it's only one target, they dive in there. They're not waiting for a group, for a 5v5. They're not waiting for, hey, let's skill match up my team versus your team. They're going, let's get vision. I want to jump on you when you're alone. I want to tower dive when you're outnumbered, and I want to win that way.
Incredible stuff here. Honestly, we've said it, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's because I am, that we never expected these newer teams to be so very strong coming into the first week of the summer split, to develop, yes, and to become better as we progress our way through the amazing season that we've got here in the summer split. But right off the bat, did not expect this one. But, and I'm going to put this in early because as it happened early with EG and Alternate, we have to, not EG and Alternate, sorry, EG and Lemon Dogs, that leads can be turned around.
Yeah, you know, Evil Geniuses kept themselves in that game against Lemon Dogs earlier, basically by playing perfectly for a very prolonged period of time, and one bad team fight cost them the game because the game was that late. Right now, though, you see MYM, they're using this advantage, they're using this immense poke. They are just throwing out, you know, skill shot after skill shot, and basically, if anyone gets cocooned up, they are going to get jumped on. I feel like MYM will dive in there, and you see that how powerful Israel is. He was caught by the Aqua Prism, but because the Arcane Shift had started, he was actually knocked up in the air after getting the distance away.
So here they go then, start hammering away on this inhibitor turret, and it's already down to half, and they can't really stand the poke here, and it's Charu that's really putting out the masses of damage.
So Fnatic literally need to turn on or find that go button in order to engage in these fights and make sure they actually stop MYM, because if they don't, MYM is just going to take more and more objectives. I actually don't feel like it's a bad thing that this inhibitor goes down, because Fnatic will be able to continue farming. Even though it's very difficult under your own tower, they can keep this goal gap closer until they're at a point where they can survive a little bit more of the damage that's being put down.
So another minion wave coming in onto this bottom lane. Let's see if MeetYourMakers can take it. Makata just getting rid of the traps. He'll say, I'll tank them up. And if they put damage down, it's probably just going to be wasted abilities and mana at this stage while they're trying to defend. You can see on the minimap, Fnatic have gone back to base to heal themselves up as much as they possibly can. But it leaves this turret still with half HP, and look at that at the top, the minions are actually pushing that one in. Fnatic are going to have to deal with that one here shortly.
And that's going to cost him this bottom lane inhibitor turret. Makla is standing up, he's actually tanking the turret. He's taken about 4 or 5 of those hits, but look at the regen. He is just healing up so incredibly quickly thanks to having that Bilgewater Cutlass and landing those Mystic shots. The Cocoon is caught out Cyanide. That might signal the tower. Here's the tidal wave.
Here we go. They're going to go in for this one. Soa bouncing around them there. Actually, the Stranglethorn's doing a good job of stopping Fnatic pushing out afterwards. There is the passive pop. They should be able to pull these down. Shockwave comes out. Makata going to die from that one, but they're going to keep going. Charu bouncing around. Can he get the finisher? Double kill for him. Nami now trying to escape, almost being saved there by Jarvan. Cyanide will actually lock himself up for death, and Charu is still alive.
I cannot believe he got away with that one, just getting the reset, hop, skipping and jumping. They've got the time, they're going to finish this. MYM have taken down Fnatic, and they've gone 4-0 in the summer split, and they played their composition perfectly. Let's Bounce came in, they split, they completely